It's better now. So we're live at a slaughterhouse in the UK. It's better now. So we're live at a slaughterhouse in the UK. Just sorry, I had to restart the whole stream. The signal around the corner was horrendous. That's where Mel and Steve are now. It's going all right. I mean, Skiri aren't getting too agitated with us anymore. I think they've calmed down a bit, but keeping distance and keeping an eye. Obviously, a few of us going around the side and coming back. They're just keeping them on their toes. But yeah, a lot of trucks going in. Just went and filmed down the back, and tried to see what was going on with them cleaning the trucks at the back, where they've already unloaded the cows and the sheep. And yeah, they're basically cleaning the trucks because they're going to be full of feces, urine and blood. Yeah, in terms of aggro, not as much aggro from the staff, a lot of aggro on the chat, which is, you know, always interesting to see the level of compassion that humans have on these live streams. It can be quite sad, to be honest. Yeah, a lot of people trying to spread lies of the industries as well. You know, I'm just here documenting exactly what's happening live, nothing to hide, and yeah, people in the industry are still trying to say that what we're saying is lies. But the fact of the matter is, cows are brought here, dairy cows, at the age of between 3 and 5 years old, after being forcibly impregnated. They are sent to slaughter here. They'll be bolt gunned to the head and then have their throat sliced after years of forcible impregnation where their children are taken from them. And the same with the sheep. So they're even younger, they're about 6 months old. And yeah, they're also taken here at the same site. As much as farmers want to tell us that, or trying to say that they're lies, but you know, we've seen the sheep for ourselves. You know, there's countless times at different slaughterhouses that sheep and cows, we know how old the sheep and cows are. A lot of farmers also tell us the age of the ones they've got in their trucks. So people want to try and say that, you know, it's not true, but we know for a fact it is. And that's why we're here to expose these industries and the realities of what happens in these industries. So yeah, we've been here for a few hours now. It's first time at this specific slaughterhouse that takes multiple animals in. And we're here to basically bear witness to their final journeys. They have been quite a few trucks coming in. The ones that, since we've been standing here, have all been cows on big trailers with the slats at the top. But as we were approaching the site earlier, we saw at least 2 or 3 smaller grey sheep trailers that are coming in with the baby lambs on about 6 months old. And they'll go inside the facilities, and yeah, they'll be either bolt gunned to the head or have their throat sliced. They will then basically be chopped up and processed in this plant, because this is a huge site. They would do most of the processing on site, and then they have the big sort of white refrigeration trucks that come in, and they will basically take the body parts away, and they'll take it to the sort of, you know, your big supermarket chains, Tesco, Sainsbury's, Asda, Aldi, M&S. At a recent slaughterhouse I went to, which was chickens, we had all of those providers of the supermarkets actually turn up with their supermarket vans. So there was Aldi and there was M&S, and they were basically queuing up at the slaughterhouse, ready to take the animals' parts from the slaughterhouse and then transported to their warehouses for packaging, and then basically be sold in their supermarkets. I mean, that's why we're here, though, is to expose what happens at slaughterhouses. You know, if people don't talk about them, people forget they exist. People are so disconnected from the animals they eat and how that animal gets turned into a product that people buy off a shelf. So we're here to expose these industries, to show what happens. And in the link in the description, there's a 3-minute movie, which is 3minutes.wtf. If you've got 3 minutes, I'd highly recommend going watching that, and you get an overview exactly what happens in just 3 minutes. But if you want a more detailed look of exactly what happens inside these facilities and inside farms, watch Dominion or watch The Land of Hope and Glory. Because most people won't have seen exactly what happens. They will know roughly what happens, but they put it to the back of their mind. Until you challenge that and expose that, that's when change really happens. And like I say, we speak to people on the streets that literally would watch just 3 minutes of what happens in animal agriculture and decide to make a change, decide to go vegan, decide to give up animal products. And that's exactly what turned me vegan. I watched a documentary called Earthlings, and it's similar to Dominion. It's a 1 to 2 hour documentary about how different animals are treated in different industries. So what happens in the food and drink industry. So, you know, meat, dairy, eggs, what happens to the animals there. And then also what happens around clothing. So, you know, things like leather, fur and wool. What happens to the animals to get those products? Often we think, oh, it's just, you know, it's the remains or it's just byproducts, but it's not, it's co-products. These animals are killed for those products. They're bred for those products. And the same things with entertainment. You know, it shows you the reality of things like bullfighting, horse racing, greyhound racing, zoos, aquariums. You know, it shows all the animals in captivity, enslaved, so that they profit from people going to pay for these facilities. And then other things, you know, looking into animal testing. We know that, you know, we're in 2025 now. There's so many cruelty-free alternatives to any products that you buy. You know, cosmetics, you look on the back of a product now, you can see if it's got a little label that has a bunny on it that says cruelty-free product. It's so much easier to pick up that product and compare them. And the same way now in supermarkets, you can pick up a product and you obviously have an animal-based product, or you can go to a plant-based section and pick up exactly the same tasting product. So it's you know, the day we live in now is not an inconvenience, it's a personal choice. It's that personal choice that you have the choice to be compassionate, or you have the choice to cause harm and cruelty and exploitation and suffering to animals. And it's what side of that fence do you want to be on? Do you want to be the person paying for animals to come here and be slaughtered? There's a truck coming now. So you probably just saw those animals just then. I'm just going to look back at the footage that I just got. I think there was sheep in the front and then a cow in the back trailer. There was 2 trailers that came in one after the other. Right, look at the eyes. Look at the eyes of that cow. There you go. They're the victims, and that's why we're here today. These animals are taken in on big and small trailers. and they're about to be bolt gunned to the head and have their throat sliced, all for the sake of a meal, an unnecessary meal. And you can choose to pay for this, or you can choose to pay for the kinder options. These animals, you'll round the side where Mel and Steve are at the moment, they will be taken into these wooden, basically like wooden big sheds, like a loading bay where the animals will go, and you'll hear the cows groaning, screaming, because they know what's going to happen. They can sense that fear. They can smell the other animals around. And then they'll be bolt gunned to the head and have their throat sliced and strung up and taken away on refrigeration trucks. And the same with the sheep. When you can just be vegan. These animals are babies. People don't realise that animals are babies when they come here. You know, sheep are 4 to 6 months old. Or lambs, here's another one. So I've got it on slow-mo, so I'll be able to look back at that footage. So there's more cows that have just gone in there, which you've just seen. Oh my God, a huge one here. As you see, the slats are so high up, they don't want people looking inside. Jeez. I can show you some of the footage that I've probably just got from that. So many of them inside. You know, look at the eyes. The eyes of the victims. Those cows that have just come in are about to be bolt gunned to the head and sliced by the throat. There's a lot of trucks just come in a very short space of time. That last one with the dairy cows, you can see their faces as they were coming through, and they're poking their noses out the front. Little do they know that in a few minutes they're going to be killed and packaged up and taken away. These industries are vile, they are disgusting. And you don't have to support them. It's as simple as that. You can choose plant-based options instead. You don't have to choose to pay for animals to be slaughtered here. Why would you want to cause unnecessary harm and suffering to someone? Why would you want to do that? And if you're not vegan, why not? You know, after seeing something like this, after watching what I've put in the video description, what's stopping you from exploiting animals? Why would you want to go out your way to kill an animal and eat their flesh when you can just eat something else or choose something else? What's actually stopping you? Are you just compassionate, or you're just non-compassionate individuals? You know, you don't have a sense of being kind or nice to someone. You know, like if you were to see a dog on a street and you know, would you be fine just going up and just kicking that dog in the head? How would that make you feel if, you know, if it was your dog, if someone came over and kicked your dog in the face? How would you feel about that? Or how would you feel about just seeing someone else doing that? Would you step in? Would you want to intervene and save the dog? Because those dogs morally are no different to the cows and sheep and pigs that are coming into the site. They all want to live in the same way that we here have dogs as companion animals. But in China, they'll breed them and kill them for meat. Animals want to live just like us. And we can live in alignment with our morals. I see there's so many triggered people on this, and I would challenge you then, watch the 3-minute movies in my description. Watch just 3 minutes of footage and see it for yourself. You have no right to tell people what to eat or how to live. I mean, to an extent, you're right in that everyone has a choice of what they do. However, the problem is that where there's victims involved, we have to speak up for them. Because if people's choices have victims, we must speak on behalf of them. Because if you put yourself in those positions, you'd want someone to speak up for you. If that was you coming in on a truck, crammed together, about to be killed and have your head chopped off, would you want people to go, oh, you know, that's their choice? Or would you want someone to stand up and try and save you? And it's for that specific reason that the fact that this is a personal choice. Like, we have the choice to be compassionate. We have the choice to be cruel and unkind. So why would we, you know, just shows the type of person you are. If you know what happens and you still want to pay for animals to be stabbed in the face and put into gas chambers, rather than paying for something else in a supermarket or a restaurant. Because it's as simple as that. 2025, you've got choices all around you that are cruelty-free. You can live in alignment with your morals if you're a compassionate person, you know? And you don't have to be an animal lover to be vegan. You can just not want to stab them in the face. Just respect animals, respect all life. Yeah, whether it's halal or not, you know, just depends on how, you know, just because the different ways that animals are slaughtered, bred, farmed, whatever, they all end up being killed for a product. And that's the crux of what we're trying to talk about. We want to stop animals from being used and exploited, bred into existence. You know, I'm using these platforms to speak up on animal rights activism. You know, we all have the right to say whatever we want to say, but my point is where there's victims involved, we have to defend those victims. We have to speak up for the animals, expose the industries, and ultimately stop them from happening. What do you think they should do with all the animals that are alive and roaming in the fields? There's a conception like, oh, if the world went vegan, what would you do with the animals? But the whole point is that these animals are bred in terms of supply and demand. So the more demand for a product, the more they're going to breed them and kill them. So as the world starts turning more vegan, less animals are going to be bred into existence. And then, you know, you're not going to suddenly cull all of them at once. You're not going to suddenly kill them all. It's going to be a gradual decline, less animals that will be existing. You know, we farm 92 billion land animals at the moment, uses up to 75% of our arable land in the world. We can rewild that and we can leave animals alone. We can rewild them and leave them be. We have, you know, there's lots of sanctuaries at the moment that look after animals in a nice way, and they're not gonna, they're not gonna exploit them. They're gonna let them live out their lives as they would want to be lived. So yeah, watch the 3-minute movie in my video description, 3minutes.wtf. It's completely free. Might open your eyes because it exposes places like this and shows you exactly what happens to the reality. And if not, watch a longer documentary, watch Dominion, watch Earthlings, watch The Land of Hope and Glory. And you can see it for yourself. You know, don't just take my word for it. See it with your own eyes and then act accordingly. We've got to expose these industries. We can rewild up to 75% of the arable land. And there's countless studies showing that. Again, don't take my word for it. You can do your own research. Not comparing a zoo to bullfighting. There's a clear comparison. I mean, if I've got to spell it out for you, I can. What do they both have in common? So many triggered people on this chat. Just trying to scroll through all the comments. More damage done by vegans than meat eaters. Please explain, because it's completely the other way around. You know, if we're feeding crops for 8 billion humans and struggling to feed 8 billion humans, yet we grow crops to feed 92 billion land animals, the amount of resources, water use, land use, the biggest drivers of deforestation, ocean dead zones, habitat loss, species extinction, all because of animal agriculture as a leading cause. Animals eat each other, but not all animals eat each other. Compare us to some animals, but not another. You know, what about rhinos, hippos, elephants? They eat plants. The biggest, strongest, and oldest animals are herbivores. You know, and just because animals eat animals, we shouldn't adopt what other things that animals do. You pick one thing about what they eat, but, you know, we don't go around killing our young, killing our own family members, raping our own family members, which animals do in the wild. So comparing us to wild animals and animals eat other animals, that's very different to how we live as humans in this world. And hence the animals that we eat, people don't go out and, you know, eat animals with their bare hands and hunt them with their bare hands and their teeth. Animals are sent here to a slaughterhouse, they get packaged up and sent to a supermarket, and you walk into a supermarket and take a package off a shelf. Yeah, not all animals eat meat. Yeah, herbivores. If you don't know what a herbivore is, again, look them up, see what they eat. It's not other animals. Again, like these sort of the comments where I'm like, please just watch a documentary for yourself. Watch Dominion, and you can see what happens to other animals. See what happens in these industries. Yeah, we are all animals, exactly. We are all animals, and all animals should be not exploited. You know, we as humans shouldn't exploit other animals just because we have the means to do so. You know, we have the luxury in that we have a choice of what we eat. We can thrive off plants, and why would we not choose to thrive off plants and eat plant-based products instead of causing animals to be sent here to be bolt gunned to the head and have their throat sliced and strung up by their legs, or forced into a gas chamber? What about insects, mate? Well, what about insects, exactly? Yeah, hilarious. Seen your minions comment many times before. Didn't we evolve as omnivores though? Yeah, the fact we're omnivores means we can eat meat, but we can eat plants. You go look back in history that actually we would have consumed far, far, far less meat than we ever would nowadays. Because in the last 50 years, through factory farming, the amount of animals being killed for meat is on the rise. But the fact that we can thrive off just plants shows our biology. Yeah, you said it yourself, we have a choice what we eat. Exactly, we have a choice what we eat. We can choose to pay for animals to be slaughtered and killed as babies, or we have a choice to be kind and compassionate. Like, I'm not gonna like lie and say, oh, you know, you don't have a choice. Everyone has a choice, mostly in society, of what you can eat or what you choose. And in modern society, if you're going to a supermarket, you have a choice of what you eat. So why would you not choose the kinder option? Just because things have been done for many, many years, it will never change. Like, that mentality is dangerous. Lots of things were done for many, many years. You know, women didn't have rights for many, many years. Slavery existed for many, many years. Just because something was done for many, many years doesn't mean it's moral to do so and should happen in today's society. I still don't understand what your question is about insects. I can try and answer it without seeing the full question. If you're saying, actually no, please just say what your question is about, because I've already mentioned quite a lot about crop deaths, so I'm not sure if it's different to that. Trying to read through the chat, bear with. So Fox, I'm trying to read your question about how far do the ingredients in your dinner travel in kilometres? About 100 metres here, mate. Thoughts? I'm not really sure what your question or point is of that. It's the circle of life. If this was disrupted, then order would fall. I mean, oh, there's a truck coming in, is it? Not sure what this truck is. And we talk about circle of life and yeah, order would fall. I mean, look at the planet. The serious rise of fires, floods. I mean, natural order is going to take its, you know, the fact that many humans are dying because of the choices we make that is causing the climate catastrophe. But yeah. Yeah, all good, Mel. Hope you are too. Hope your signal's all right. If you want to check out Mel and Steve, they're live at the moment as well on their YouTube channel. They're at the same site as us. Great activists, so if you want to check out their channel, I'd highly recommend it. Like, Harry, you're getting so triggered. Yes, comparing slavery and women's rights to eating animals. And why is that? Why am I comparing them? Well, because they're victims. There's victims in situations. We have to look at other social injustices as well to think what changed and why were things happening. And we look at what's happening now to animals. If you put yourself in the victim's perspective, then you'd realize the suffering or harm that's being caused to those groups. So we look at women's rights, for example. We know that there is someone being exploited or not seen as being the same value, or whatever the injustice might be, and you realize something's morally wrong, and then society has to change. Yo, you're asking if we can eat insects. I mean, no, insects are animals. Like, we don't need to eat any living being that can experience pain and suffering, when you can just eat plants. And I'm not confused, I'm scrolling through the chat and reading your question. What would be the purpose of animals? I mean, why would an animal have to have a purpose for a human? Like, what's our purpose? What's our purpose to be here? We just, you know, we're here, we're gonna live our lives. Animals, they just want to live their lives too. You know, look at the wild animals. What's their purpose? They're just, you know, living in their own world, and animals can do the same. Why do we have to associate a purpose with them? It's that mentality of, oh, how can I get benefit from a poor, you know, individual? You don't need to exploit them. Oh, so your question about home kill, sorry, I didn't understand what you meant before, not big ag. I mean, the fact is, like, yes, big ag, factory farms, they're killing millions, I mean, billions of animals on a mass scale. But the idea, like, okay, smaller farms, that people think that might be better, more ethical, what it might be, but again, it's an injustice for the individual. So whether a cow was raised in a factory farm or on a small farm, their destiny is going to be the same, and that they're going to be exploited and killed for a meat or dairy product. So regardless of how they're being bred or the environment they're brought up in, we're still using animals and they're going to be killed. So why, I mean, yeah, so even if it's your sort of small local farm, like, the animal's still going to be killed. And it's kind of disturbing as well. Like, a lot of farmers will say, oh, you know, we love our animals, we really look after them. Like, if that's what loving an animal is, or loving or caring for someone, like, that's crazy. You know, you wouldn't think, oh, I love my family members, and send them off to a slaughterhouse. Yes, I'm vegan, Luke. Yeah, been vegan for 4.5 years after watching Earthlings documentary, which is similar to the Dominion documentary. And yeah, I'd highly recommend watching it. And if you want to spend just 3 minutes watching a clip, go to the link in my description and you can check out the 3-minute version yourself and see exactly what happens to animals. How do you describe? So, I mean, you might not have seen my answers to it before. The idea that we grow crops to feed 8 billion humans and struggle, yet we thrive from growing, well, not thrive, we do it easily in that we grow crops for 92 billion land animals. So the ecosystems are being destroyed from animal agriculture, growing crops to feed to animals and then killing the animals to eat a product when you could just eat the plants directly. You can rewild and restore 75% of the Earth's arable land and restore the ecosystems that are being destroyed from animal agriculture. There's a documentary that I'd recommend watching. I think it's fairly new. It's called Eating Your Way to Extinction, narrated by Kate Winslet. You know, again, you don't always have to believe in everything I say if you don't want to, but go and watch your own documentaries and do your own research, which I'd highly encourage you to. You know, you should, yeah, make informed choices. Still scrolling through some of the comments. And this is all about, like, your individual choices, not about hypotheticals. Oh, what about, you know, some people somewhere and some areas? Like, this is down to your choice. When you go into supermarkets, the products that you pick up and purchase. When you go to events, you know, do you pay towards cruelty to animals at sporting events? Depending on what, you know, what interests you have. So it's all down to the choices that you can make in society today. So you said you've seen Earthlings and a lot of the practices that are barbaric, so in America, not in the UK. So my answer to that is, okay, watch a documentary called The Land of Hope and Glory, and it is all entirely on UK farms. There is a link to it in my video description, in my link tree, The Land of Hope and Glory, and it shows you exactly what happens in the UK. As a hunter, I guarantee I do more to care for most animals. Yeah, I'm not really sure you can say that in the same sentence, that you care for animals and then shoot them in the face. Doesn't quite make sense. So many trigger people in the chat. We have canine teeth. What's your point about canine teeth? Not that we do have them, but go for it. Go on. What's your point? Farmers or families that say they love their animals, hope you can find space in animals. The farmers that claim to love their animals and in the same breath drive them to a place like this for them to be sliced by the throat, that's not love. How on earth is that loving and caring for animals? Completely disagree. If you loved and cared for your animals, you'd keep them and look after them. You wouldn't take them to a place like this for them to be killed. You wouldn't do that to your family members, you wouldn't do it to your pets. So why is it any different? Do you think this will actually change? I mean, yes, at the moment, like the amount of exposing that's been done, you know, the people that are turning vegan and plant-based are on the increase. But also the fact that you don't need a whole society to change to make societal change. So for example, when you look at other social injustice movements, you need about 3.5% of a population that's mobile and active speaking up on an injustice. And that's how change happens. You need a small group of powerful individuals and the general public taking accountability, and that's how change happens. Because we're meat eaters by design. So you think because we have canines, we're meat eaters by design. Okay, what about hippos then? So many hateful comments, Christ. Morning. Instant lights out. It's a humbling experience, like when you realise bees die from monoculture. Like, why are you killing your own animals? That's not love. Like, you wouldn't kill your own family members. So it doesn't make sense why you do that. You wouldn't, you know, for your pet dog, you know, whilst your pet dog is 5 years old, you wouldn't just hit them with a hammer and go, lights out, yeah, they're fine. That's love. What's the kind of thing to do in that situation? Don't kill them. When you look at our teeth, I mean, have a look at the genetics between carnivores and then look at omnivores, herbivores, frugivores, and human teeth. Look at the pictures and you tell me what's exactly similar. Because right now, you know, these blunt teeth, what are they going to tear apart? And what claws? We don't have claws. And even if we did, like, the canine teeth argument, like I said, what about hippos? What do they eat? Just because you have canines, that doesn't mean that's an excuse to murder billions of animals. So yeah, for anyone who's just tuned in, we're at a local, I say local, not that local, we're at a slaughterhouse in the UK, and we're bearing witness to sheep and cows that are coming in off slaughterhouse trucks. They'll be transported inside the facilities. The cows, the dairy cows, are about 3 to 5 years old, and they will be bulk under the head and have their throat sliced. and then the sheep that are coming in are about 4 to 6 months old, and they'll also be slaughtered inside the facility. They'll then be packaged up and taken away on refrigeration trucks, and then taken to places like supermarkets. Yeah, we've seen lots of, it's getting quite busy. We've had lots of trucks already come in today. I've got some footage of, yeah, the various sheep and cows that have gone inside. You can check out on my, yes, my clothing is organic, thank you. So yeah, we've got, if you want to check out my latest reels, you can see places that other places I've been to that have the exact same sort of style of what happens to the animals. They come in on the trucks. We've got footage of them on the trucks. And yeah, if you go to the video description, you can see that I've linked a 3-minute movie called 3minutes.wtf, and you can watch 3 minutes of exactly what happens in these industries. It's completely free. You know, I'd say give it a watch and jump back on the channel, and yeah, let me know your thoughts of what you actually saw. And if you wanted to watch a longer documentary, there's Earthlings, Dominion, Land of Hope and Glory. They're all linked on my link tree. And yeah, you can see the reality for yourself. Still going on about the canine teeth. Just because you have canine teeth, it doesn't mean we have to send animals into a slaughterhouse. It's completely unnecessary. Wow, you want to see me shirtless? Interesting. Stream's taking a turn. There's another truck coming in now. So that had a lot of dairy cows inside. You can't see it too well, but you can see all the cows inside there. So they are dairy cows. So they are most likely about 5 years old, and they are essentially what's known as spent in the industry. So these dairy cows that have been forcibly impregnated, cycle after cycle, once they give birth, they will take their babies away from them. And if they're male, they're most likely killed within a week because they're no use to the dairy industry. And if they're female, once they're old enough, they'll go through the same cycle of forcible impregnation. And then after, yeah, a few cycles, they become less profitable, they're producing less milk. They then are taken to a slaughterhouse like this, and they are basically then slaughtered. They are bolt gunned to the head, and then they have their throats sliced and then hung up by their legs. Then they'll be chopped up, and then they'll be packaged up and taken away on refrigeration trucks, and then yeah, taken to supermarkets, restaurants, hospitality sector. So your dairy cows are slaughtered for cheap meat, for things like burgers. So we're here to expose the animals that are going inside on the slaughterhouse trucks, and yeah, I guess raise awareness to the public and try and show you exactly what happens to these animals. So many questions about my clothing. You're very concerned about whether my clothing's organic, but you know what? take a look in the mirror. What is it that you're paying for yourself? Are you paying for animals to be stabbed in the face? Tell you what, just for, because I know you'd love me to show you some actual evidence rather than being what you're calling me a hypocrite. Here's my shoes. You think they're leather? There you go. I know the camera's flipped. Vegan. And that's as much of a clothing reveal as I'm going to be doing today. And it's so easy to buy non-animal products. So there you go. If you've got any genuine questions, please do. Please do. If it's another trolley comment, I probably won't respond to it, but fire away, ask away. Another truck coming in. See, they don't want the trucks to stop at all. They don't want people with cameras. It makes you ask, why would they not want that? Why do they want to hide what's inside these trucks so much? To look back at some of this footage later. But yeah, if you go on my social medias, you can see some of the ones I've taken very recently at similar slaughterhouses. What's that, Foxlocks? No genuine questions have been answered in this chat. I mean, I've answered every single one of yours about local farms, so I'm not sure what you're referring to. Being vegan is about not exploiting animals. So is it possible to be vegan? If you look up the actual definition, I believe it's something like it's as being as far as practically possible to remove yourself from exploiting animals, from being harmed and animal suffering. So what can you do to your most extent to stop animal exploitation? And when you're looking at the animals being exploited, these are animals that have the capacity to feel pain, feel suffering, and not support those industries. You know, genuine questions I will answer, but obviously here to take videos and expose exactly what happens to these industries and the animals that are coming in on these trucks that are right now being killed inside the facility. So I'm sorry, Aaron, I'm just reading your question because I think you had a genuine one. Oh, hold on, I'll come back to that. So you see the sheep coming in here. Oh, it's cows. So that was a small grey trailer, which usually the sheep are transported in, but that was actually a cow. I think there was just one in there. There you go, you can see the cow's face. That was just at the back of that truck. A young dairy cow who is about to be slaughtered for cheap meat. That's a better one. Like, look at their face. How does that make you feel, knowing that that individual is about to be killed? I'm just scrolling back up. So, Aaron, your question, if eating meat is morally wrong, how do you reconcile that with the reality that in many poorer countries, meat is one of the most accessible nutrient-dense foods? So, the question, an alternative might not be available. So that's a good point. So, and that boils back to the sort of the statement I was just saying about what veganism is, what is far as practically possible in your situation. I understand that there might be some parts of the world that has far different circumstances. We're talking about the circumstances that we have as individuals in modern society and where you're based right now. You know, the choices that you make right now, do you go to a supermarket? If so, you have a choice. And it's down to those choices that you can make. Can you make a more compassionate choice, depending on your situation? I'm a bodybuilder, I can't survive on tofu and wouldn't want to. Look up Patrick Baboumian. He was the world's strongest man in Germany. And yeah, he ate a lot of tofu. When all protein comes from plants anyway. So yeah, please do check out the link I've got in the description, 3minutes.wtf. Watch a 3-minute movie on exactly what happens to these industries. And obviously we're here to expose exactly what happens and show you the reality to the public, because most people, when they see this sort of thing, they would feel a bit of empathy, they'd feel sad for the animals and what happens to them. But it looks like most people on this chat really don't have any compassion or empathy in their lives. And I feel sorry for you, because you know, if that's how you treat other individuals, sadly, yeah. But I know there is a few good people on the chat too, and thank you for supporting. Hope you've had a nice morning, Harry. You're putting a lot of comments in. I've clearly got you hooked on this activism. You're really helping my engagement, so I appreciate that. Thank you. Germany has the best vegan mozzarella. I never found it elsewhere. I have to give that a try. But yeah, check out Patrick Baboumian and all the strongman challenges he's done. Just shows that you can thrive off eating plants. So yeah, please do ask me any questions about what happens to animals in various industries, whether it's food, drinks, entertainment, sport, clothing, testing. If you've got any questions, please do drop them in the chat. But I would highly recommend watching The Land of Hope and Glory or Dominion or 3minutes.wtf, and you can see the reality for yourself. And obviously I'm here today to witness and take footage of the animals that are coming in on slaughterhouse trucks. Here they have sheep and cows where they're slaughtered at a fraction of their life. And yeah, we've got Mel and Steve, you know, at It's Mel and Steve. They're also live streaming. I think they're around the side at the moment, so they'll be taking footage of the different animals that are going into the side panels of the side shed, rather, next to the wooden slats, and you can see and hear the cows that are sort of screaming, groaning and screeching for their lives in there, because they're about to be forcibly killed and have their throats sliced. So free range eggs. So what most people don't know about some of these labels, organic, free range, red tractor approved, RSPCA approved, is that the guidelines that warrant that are very different to probably what you see on TV adverts. You might see, oh, these happy chickens running around a field, loads of space. The problem is that free range eggs, all that means is that you have the space per chicken of about an A4 piece of paper, or the size of an iPad. And you can house up to 16,000 chickens in a barn that never see daylight. And that is the reality of free-range chickens. They're kept in barns in the same way. They're killed at 42 days old, 6 weeks. And yeah, so whether they're free-range or not, they have the same reality. Hello from Brazil. So yeah, if you have any genuine questions about animal agriculture, what happens to animals, how old they are, how they get killed, please do ask them. And yeah, if you want to educate yourself, don't just take my word for it. Read up on it, watch documentaries. You've all got Google and ChatGPT now. It's so easy to find information and to make choices, make changes. You can make more compassionate choices. What's that? Tess, I've eaten meat my whole life and have recently been considering stopping. I can't justify this unnecessary abuse of power just for a burger, not to mention the amount of meat waste. It's disgusting. Yeah, completely. So, the cows that are coming in today on these trucks, whether they're bred for beef or they're dairy cows, 3 to 5 years old, they are slaughtered, they're bolt gunned to the head and have their throats sliced and strung up and then packaged up and taken away to supermarkets at a fraction of their lives, all for the sake of, a burger or some milk. And the fact that we live in a society now where you can eat a whole range of plant-based products, whether it's whole foods, whether it's plant alternatives, it's so easy to make a change like that today. And that's the simple thing, and that's what changed me. I watched a documentary called Earthlings. I saw what happened to animals. I realized I didn't want to support these industries anymore, and I made that change. Changed my diet, changed my lifestyle to fit what being a vegan is, and that is just not wanting to harm animals, to not exploit them. And we have resources that we can be able to do that now. We have Challenge 22, for example. It's on my link tree in the description, but it gives you free support. If you've got any questions about nutrition, or if you've got, if you want to look at recipes, there's so much out there that you can look at. So, nowadays there's almost no excuse for not having to, for struggling when we have all of these options around us. So things about having eggs sourced from a small farm. The fact is, it's the mentality. It's not necessarily about the products, it's the mentality. Like, why do we have to see animals as products or commodities? Why does animals have to be, consumed or exploited for us? We can just not breed these animals into existence just to kill them or take their products from them. So, we don't need to. And they get killed at 6 weeks old because the way that chickens are bred nowadays, if you look at graphs or images from back in time of how the size of chickens have grown throughout the years through to the different modifications and genetics that they're now bred to grow as quickly as possible, to grow the biggest amount of meat to be sold, and about 42 days old, that's when they're slaughtered. That's the size, they get to a big enough size to be slaughtered. And sadly, chickens that are now growing older than that, their bodies become too big, their legs can't take the weight of their bodies, and they get many other health problems because of the way they're bred. So the comment, kills more plants, you hypocrites. Are you talking about vegans or meat eaters? Oh wait, no, plants have feelings too. I can see where that's going. But you're killing plants, but you're killing plants. I've already said about plants for multiple times this morning. We grow crops, we grow plants, and we struggle to grow them for 8 billion humans, yet we grow crops, plants to feed 92 billion land animals. We would save so much crops, 75% of arable farmland throughout the world, if we adopted a plant-based lifestyle. There's another truck coming in. Most likely cows or sheep inside. It's really hard to see inside these ones. They've got very small slats on them. You can see, yeah, you can see the cow. There's cows in there. You can see their eyes. You can see the cows inside. So where was that in the chat? Oh yeah, plants, the classic. Plants don't have a central nervous system, pain receptors, and the capacity to feel pain and suffering. End of. This week I've made vegan pizza, breakfast burrito, and pesto sausages, all delicious and vegan. Exactly, you can have the same meals that you have right now. You can have pizzas, burgers, sausages, and just have a vegan version. You get the same taste, same convenience, but animals don't have to be slaughtered for it. God, some of these comments are comical, but I'm not going to read them out. There's another one coming in. Another two coming in potentially. Let's have a look. Busy around here. So just having a look inside this truck. So yeah, there's more cows inside that one. Just want to show you, you can see all the cows packed inside there. Sorry if I've missed quite a few comments after those trucks that have gone through. If you've got any genuine questions, please do drop them into the chat. Do you think one of the barriers to entry of veganism is the financial cost and time for people and families? So there was a study that obviously depending on what you buy depends on how expensive things are. So for example, like you know, if you're a meat eater, you can get a very cheap steak or you can get a really expensive steak. And that's the same thing for vegan products. You know, you can get a cheap product or you can get some sort of premium products. But there was a study that showed that if you eat more of a whole food plant-based diet, so, you know, not necessarily like these sort of plant-based alternative meats, more of the, you know, your tofu, beans, legumes, on a weekly shop, it was about 30% cheaper. And I can definitely say that that's the same for myself. My weekly shop cost has definitely gone down after being going vegan and changing the foods that I buy. So I don't think in most places that the financial implications would be a barrier. So Pat, about it's fine if we treat them right while alive, ethically raised meat. So how, if they're ethically raised but they're killed, how does that work? Is that ethical if you kill someone? Try vegan bacon, that's tasty too. And just because of taste, that doesn't justify forcing pigs at 6 months old into a gas chamber. They aren't someone. So you're telling me that you look into a dog's eyes, they're not a someone, they're just an object. They don't have the capacity to feel joy or pain. Seriously? What's your opinion on feeding meat to your pet? Well, I don't have a pet, but having said that, if you look up Dr. Andrew Knight, you can see all of his research on cats and dogs and food. So I'll let you do some research on that. We don't eat dogs. I hate dogs. Exactly. So just because some people eat dogs, some people don't, for the dog's sake, you know, they don't want to be exploited or eaten in the same way a cow doesn't want to be exploited or eaten. And dogs, pigs, cows, you look into their eyes, you know, like you look into a human's eye, there's someone inside. There's an individual that has the capacity to feel pain, feel suffering, and to experience life. How you stop other animals from eating each other, we're talking about how humans can stop torturing and exploiting animals. We are animals, we're all animals, and we all want to live in this world together. We shouldn't have to enslave, imprison, and torture and murder animals for the sake of our benefit. So yeah, any more legitimate questions, or is there just going to be more? Hey Jake, how you doing? So yeah, we're outside a slaughterhouse for those that have just recently joined. Slaughterhouse in the UK. This is a very large slaughterhouse. It's quite unique in that they take multiple different animals in. They take sheep and cows into the same site. The cows, often the ones that have come in this morning, have been dairy cows, so they'll be about 3 to 5 years old. After cycles of forcible impregnation, their babies taken from them, their milk taken from them, they then become no longer profitable and then sent to slaughter, where here they'll be bonked onto the head and have their throat sliced. And the meat will be taken to things like cheap meat for burgers. And the sheep that come in here, about 4 to 6 months old, they're babies, you know, they should live to at least 10 years old. They're killed at a fraction of their lives, and they're taken inside the facility. They'll be driven down towards the middle side, middle right-hand side, where they're offloaded. They'll be put into a holding pen, and then they'll be taken through to the slaughterhouse floor, which is where they will bolt guns them to the head, slice their throats, and then they'll be processed through the facility. They'll chop them up into essentially small body parts, and then they'll be taken away on refrigeration trucks and taken to sort of UK supermarkets. And this all happens because people buy meat and dairy. And do they use electrical sounding? So it's just the bolt gun, I believe. It's the same site as one down the road, and they use a bolt gun. There's a sheep truck just coming in now. I'll try and get some footage of that. Oh no, is it a cow? It's a cow, yeah. They obviously want to get them in so quickly. They don't want people to expose what's happening to these animals. Let me just see if I can get an image to show you. There's quite a few in that small trailer. So this is the cow that was just inside that truck just then. A young dairy cow. How do you think that cow feels right now? Again, this is all choices that people make. Opinions on Mel and Steve recording nearby. Yeah, they're just they were here out the front. They've been down the side for quite a while. I think they're capturing what's happening on the side. I can see what they're up to on their stream. But they are, yeah, please do check out their channel. They're brilliant activists. They speak up for animals on the streets and slaughterhouses. So yeah, still down the side. That's Mel and Steve at the moment. They're literally just down the side, 50 metres away.
Thank you to all the vegans in here. I've still seen it basically. Yeah.
Oh, hey Mel. Just show that stream of footage you got. Okay, yeah, there's been so many trucks that come in the last sort of 20 minutes, I'd say, which you've probably seen come around the side. Yeah, there's been absolutely loads, mainly cows that I've seen, even on the small grey trailers that are usually sheep there. It's been cows, and then a few bigger trucks that have gone in as well. I'm not sure how much you can see around the side. And there's a sheep just coming in right now. Potentially sheep, potentially cow. And let's see what's inside. So in there, yeah, more cows. That's the image of what's happening. So yeah, a couple of cows, yeah, facing forwards. You can see you can hear the cows. You can hear these sort of deep groans coming from them. Sorry, I probably missed a few bits on the chat. Yeah, agree, Master Lee. But they're helping the engagement. So hopefully this gets exposed to even more people. Well, they probably don't realise. So yeah, please do drop any serious questions into the chat about the animals that are coming into this site. Obviously, we've got cows and sheep coming in, obviously to be slaughtered, about 3 to 5 years old. Sheep are about 4 to 6 months old. You know, and amount of different trucks and trailers that have come in so far just today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. About 16 trucks and trailers that I've got on camera so far. That's been here for a few hours. Just shows the extent of how much or how many animals are coming in and being slaughtered for animal products in this area. And this is one of, there's a huge, potentially a huge, oh, this is where they take all the feces and often the dead like hides and body parts that are disused and usually held out the back. Oh, jeez, the smell. Oh my God, that is horrendous. That seriously smells. So yeah, the trailers that have come in, I'd say have almost been 50-50 between the small grey ones, which either hold, you know, up to maybe 5 cows in, depending on the size of the small grey trailers or sheep, to these big, almost like double decker trucks and trailer trucks. So they've been various sizes. So yeah, hundreds of animals would have come in so far today, and it's only 11 o'clock. Imagine chasing after hard-working farmers who are already dealing with the odds stacked against them, unemployment leech. I mean, I'm not chasing after the farmers, am I? I'm chasing after the trucks to expose the footage. I'm not confronting any of the trucks or the drivers. I'm here to expose and focus on the animals. Do you ever get grief from staff members? It's a good question, because obviously they've got different staff here. They've got the workers, like the slaughterhouse floor workers, they've got security staff, they've got the trucks. Sorry. So in terms of like grief, I feel like you probably get as much grief as you get what you give in a way. So, you know, if you're going to be shouting at them, then they'll probably give you grief back. And I mean, when we started off, security, I wouldn't say they gave us grief. They're, at the end of the day, security doing their job. So, you know, but I mean, I've been stood here for a long time now, and you know, no one's coming over and bothering. You know, I'm doing nothing wrong. I'm on a public right of way, and I'm not obstructing. I'm not causing disruption. So, you know, I'm not getting any grief from them. But I would imagine that you get cars beeping and you never know if they're in support or not. But yeah, some staff get fairly triggered. Some don't. Some people don't really know how to react. Same with the farmers that come in. So let me just scroll to the bottom. So, what's that? Hi, watching Mel and Steve. They are constantly shouting at workers, calling them not human psychopaths. I just wonder if you think shaming people is a good way to further the cause. So, I mean, I don't know what's going on around the corner. I can't hear anything from here, but at the end of the day, we as animal rights activists will speak on behalf of the animals in whichever way we feel most effective. And I feel that everyone's got their own approach. And these things, or these sort of events rather, can trigger very different reactions from people. So I've been to vigils with lots of different people, and it's interesting because everyone will respond and react slightly differently. They're very high emotional places, these places. You know, you're seeing animals taken in on trucks, you know, completely helpless, and they're about to be shot in the face and killed. So some people react with different emotions. Some people, we want to shout at the workers, shout at the staff. Some will want to just break down in tears and cry. Some people will want to just, you know, leave this place and never come back. So I feel like everyone will react differently, and I think activism is, you know, it's a brave thing for people to do, and you know, we should all be doing what you can to speak up for the animals, because at the end of the day, they're the victims, and we have to get that message across to the staff, to, you know, any workers there, because they're all supporting these industries. So the fact is that we have to make them aware that they're also supporting these industries. So, you know, for the slaughterhouse workers or the staff around the side, you know, they have probably not had activists here for a very long time. So it's probably going to be a wake-up call for them to realise, you know, what are they doing? Who are they working for? And it can have a very positive reaction in terms of people will look for different jobs. People will boycott these industries, and without being told, you know, whether you're being spoken to, whether you're being shouted at, whatever they say, it's going to have an impact on those individuals. And these are the places that have or need to have the pressure on them in various ways, and that's why we need different activists coming to show their strengths to put pressure on these facilities. You know, some people are good with cameras, some people are good with, you know, talking, some people are good with drone footage. You know, we need all these different areas to put pressure on the workers, the staff, to essentially boycott these industries. And it ultimately lies because animals are being killed inside unnecessarily. And that's all you have to think about when you think about, you know, how activists are acting, is they're speaking passionately on behalf of animals that are being killed inside. And if you were here as well, I'd question, you know, how might you act? So yeah, please do drop any other questions you might have in the chat. If you've got any questions about what I'm doing here today, about what this facility is. We'll just quick pan around just to show you more of the site. So that's the gate, obviously, where the trucks go in. They'll go down the right-hand side. So down on the right, about 50 metres down is where Mel and Steve are at the moment. And yeah, over to the left, there's all the sort of the staff car park, and yeah, it's a huge facility. If I go back down to the rear entrance at some point, I can show you exactly more of what's happening. But yeah, this place exists because animals are being slaughtered here for meat, for products. And it doesn't have to be this way. So in my video description, there's a link to 3minutes.wtf. You can watch a 3-minute video on exactly what happens to animals in this industry. You can have a very quick summary. You know, you don't have to sit down and watch a long documentary if you don't want to. It's just 3 minutes, and it should give you enough information about what's happening to these animals. Like I say, you don't have to take my word for it. You can watch it for yourself. You can see what happens inside the trucks, inside the slaughterhouses, inside the farms. And if you want to watch more of a long form video, documentary, please watch The Land of Hope and Glory, watch Dominion, and yeah, watch Earthlings, Game Changers, What the Health, Eating Our Way to Extinction. There's lots of documentaries that you can watch. And Challenge 22 as well. So that is a great resource, completely free to help people if they've got questions or about transitioning to being vegan, if they want a question on nutrition or recipes. There's plenty of support out there. So many hateful comments. Wow. Got nothing better to do with your day than just hating on other people. Seriously shows the character of some of the people in this chat. I'm just going to mute you whilst I eat an apple, because otherwise you'll hear all my munching. But feel free to put any comments in the chat whilst I'm doing this. So yeah, TL, what's your idea of the best way and offer people alternatives to do better? So what do you mean by that? You know, it's never a waste of time. You know, I'm going to keep standing outside these places like many activists do, because we realise that, you know, you might get some of these lovely comments, but actually you reach some people that are compassionate and that they see this for the first time. And the media that we can create from this, that we do share, ends up ultimately people turn vegan from it because they realise the realities of what happens to these animals. You know, some people, yeah, will have no compassion towards animals and will continue to pay for their torture and suffering. But we're here to raise awareness and speak to those individuals that do have a kind heart. All right, that's the apple gone. So yeah, genuine questions, please do put them in the chat. I will respond. Happy to answer any questions about, yeah, what happens to animals, what happens to cows, what happens to sheep, the food we eat. Any questions, please genuinely put them in the chat and I will respond to them if they're sensible, and if they're just troll comments, they will be ignored like a lot of them in this chat. But hi Alicia, I turned vegan 10 months ago. Oh, that's awesome. Do you mind me asking what turned you vegan 10 months ago? What was it that you did or saw? And Steve, no one else cares. I'll tell you who does care, the animals care. Those animals that we're saving, they care. One individual can save up to 200 to 300 animals a year, just one person, you know? So those animals most likely would care that they're not being killed. Ari, been vegan for 5 years. Awesome. What turned you vegan, Ari? Natural law, no dominion over sentient beings, no masters, no slaves. Yeah, exactly. We're all on this planet together. Why should we enslave, exploit animals for our own benefit? It's unnecessary, doesn't need to be done. We live in a society that means that we can make compassionate choices and not use animals for anything. Glad to see you've got long hair, Lee. Put me to shame, probably. Yeah, a lot of hateful comments in the chat, and it's interesting how triggered people get from just someone standing outside a slaughterhouse, and a large percentage of the community here are just hateful people, hateful comments to myself and other activists. It's, yeah, no wonder that we treat animals in the way we do with the hate that some people have. Benefit society, unlike some. You know, we're speaking up on behalf of animals so that they don't get killed. If that doesn't benefit society, you know, I don't know what does. Hey John, good to see you. And yeah, all these comments, like, you think that it's going to be enough that, you know, we're just going to cry and run away, but the fact is, like, all these troll comments are just, they're helping my engagement, they're helping the stream, they're helping Mel and Steve, they're probably getting the same shit that I'm getting now, and ultimately that's helping the animals. So please, you know, carry on. But genuine questions I will respond to and answer in the chat, like I have been, so please do put them away. Obviously about animals. But should we have pets? So it's an interesting question, and I would urge you to look up what happens to animals in the pet industries, whether it's dogs, cats, fish, hamsters. A lot of them are bred into existence and then often neglected, you know, where they're trying to breed these designer dogs, and they end up, people take them for a year and they don't want them anymore. They end up in dogs' homes, they need to be up for adoption. And it's this whole cycle of people, again, just wanting to use animals for their own benefit. There's so many dogs out there that need a home that can be adopted and we can look after them. We don't need to breed animals in society for our own pleasure. So you can, yeah, go and find, I mean, if you want a companion animal, there's many animals that need saving. And are currently in shelters. And it's that, yeah, I guess there's a campaign at the moment called Rescue Not Retail. I'd highly recommend checking them out. But the idea that, yeah, adopt, don't shop, and less animals are going to be harmed and, I guess, just badly treated in society when we can be kind to animals instead. Yeah, rescue, not retail, exactly. Same thing about animals, you know, in animal agriculture. The cows and sheep that are coming in today that we've seen so much of, like, if farmers really love their animals, they could keep them in the sanctuary. They could let them live out their lives and look after them and not take them to be slaughtered at 6 months old. So for anyone that has just recently joined here at a slaughterhouse in the UK, bearing witness to cows and sheep that are coming in off the slaughterhouse trucks. The cows predominantly have been dairy cows. They'll be 3 to 5 years old, and after cycles of forcible impregnation where they are artificially inseminated or they're raped, their babies are then taken from them when they give birth, and the milk that the mothers make for their babies are then basically the milk is sold to humans and taken from them, and the babies are separated from their mothers so they don't consume that milk. And the babies that are born, if they're male, they're likely shot within a week, sold to the veal industry. And if they're female, once they're old enough, they'll go through the same cycles of impregnation for 3, 4, 5 years. You just said they're raped. Yeah, I did say they're raped. It's rape. You're putting your fist into a cow, inseminating it with semen from a bull, and you're making them pregnant. I mean, if you did that to a human, what would you call that if it's not rape? So yeah, the mothers, or once they're going through those cycles of impregnation, they are then essentially no longer profitable after about 3, 4, 5 years because they stop producing enough milk, and the industry deems them as not profitable, and therefore they're sent on slaughterhouse trucks into facilities like this to be killed, to be then basically sold as cheap meat for things like burgers. And the same thing for things like sheep. They are taken in on trucks, usually about 4 to 6 months old. So these are lambs, these are babies. You know, they could live to over 10 years old, and they're taken at 6 months old and killed for meat. And they're taken inside, and in this facility they use a bolt gun to the head. So they will stun them, they'll bolt gun them to the head, and then they will hang them up and slice them by their throat. And then because this site is so big, they will do a lot of the processing inside. So they will chop up those animals once they've been killed off the kill floor. They'll move along, they'll chop up their dead body parts and package them up. And then we've had quite a few big white refrigeration trucks that have come in, and they will then transport them to either further processing or warehouses, ultimately to end up in supermarkets and other hospitality sectors, restaurants, cafes, as products, as cheap meat, beef and lamb products. There's another truck coming in now. Could be sheep, could be cows. So they're not letting any truck stop. They want us out of here. They don't want us looking inside what happens to these trucks. So I'm getting the footage and then slow-moing it to show you, and I'll be posting it on socials after as well. So there was 3 cows inside. So you can see the 3 cows inside that truck there's just gone in. So just a few years old, they're taken here for slaughter. But yeah, we'll be putting some social media posts up. If you check out on my Instagram, you can see some of the reels I've made from recent slaughterhouses just like this. You can see the fear in their eyes, the pain that those animals are going to go through. You can sense the fear, you can smell the horrible smells and everything they have to go through. But yeah, it's been so busy here. It's probably I'd say about 20 trucks that have come in, big double-decker ones with trailers, but also a lot of these smaller grey ones with cows on, which usually take sheep in, but there's been, yeah, predominantly cows, so about a 70-30 ratio of cows to sheep that have been in today. Yeah, the horrible smells that you can smell is the fact that these trucks are covered in feces, urine and blood, and this site is a death site. You can just smell feces, you can smell I mean, come down to a place like this and smell it for yourself, because it is disgusting. You can smell it far down the road. Again, the fact that there's houses, I mean, literally right there's a house opposite, like that smell is horrendous. But yeah, if you're not vegan, you're paying for this. You're paying for these animals to come into this site. You're paying for these cows to be shot in the head and have their throat sliced open. And you can just be vegan. You can make compassionate choices. We live in a society now where you can make compassionate choices. Some of the security leaving. So yeah, they called extra security earlier when we turned up, and obviously I said they haven't had activists here for a very long time, probably quite a few years, and I think that we startled them a bit today. They accidentally locked us in, which was very funny. Yeah, obviously let us out, and yeah, they called extra security to come and secure the place, but obviously we're not here to cause any sort of distress, obstruction, criminal activity. We're here literally to be peaceful, to bear witness to the animals and expose exactly what's happening in these industries. So what's my opinions of vegetarians? I'm always intrigued of why people go vegetarian, like what's the reason they go vegetarian in the first place. But vegetarians, I think they want to be doing well and meaning well, but ultimately they're still paying for the animals that are coming into this place. So vegetarians that consume dairy, consume eggs, are still paying for these animals to be slaughtered inside. So, you know, there's no difference between a vegetarian and a meat eater in terms of what they do to animals. There's a lot of cars and traffic coming past. So yeah, if you don't want to pay for animals to be shot in the face, if you don't want to pay for animals to suffer, if you want to be kind to animals, you just have to be vegan. That's funny, Jake. So yeah, I guess a lot of people are probably leaving now for lunch breaks. Obviously we've been down here for quite a few hours now, and they open super early as well. So yeah, the link in my description to this video, it's called 3minutes.wtf. If you want to watch just 3 minutes of what happens to animals in this industry and others, I'm sure if you can listen to this live stream, you've got 3 minutes to spare. Check out the link and hop back on and let me know what you think of it. And if you've got more time later, please check out the other links on my link tree. You've got Watch the Land of Hope and Glory. That shows you exactly what happens in UK farms and UK slaughterhouses. You've got Dominion, and use Challenge 22 as well. You know, it's free support for anyone who's got questions about nutrition, about you know, transitioning to being vegan. If you've got any questions or recipes or anything like that, Challenge 22 is brilliant. But also, everyone's got Google nowadays, you know, ChatGPT. If you have any questions, you can just plug it in there. If you want to know what to eat, you just have to put a vegan in front of whatever dish you want to make. And that's the luxury that we have today, in that you can have all the same meals that you have and just have a vegan version. You can have vegan burgers, vegan sausages, vegan whatever, because there's so many options that we have now. In supermarkets and restaurants and at home, you can just make everything vegan. Thanks, John, appreciate that. So yeah, I've been here for about 4 hours now, I think. This is the second live stream. The first one died. I know Mel and Steve have been having some signal problems as well. I think they've restarted their stream about 4 times. So yeah, they're currently down. Mel and Steve are live streaming at the moment. They're down the side. Feel free to tune in as well, see what they're up to. And yeah, that's where the animals are essentially unloaded into wooden sheds. You can't see too much, but what you can do is hear the animals, and you can sort of hear the cows screaming and groaning from the facilities. Also went round the side a lot earlier. I went down the back, and you can see where all the trucks, once they've taken the animals off, they are taken back, and that's where the trucks are then cleaned. So obviously these trucks are full of blood, urine, feces, so they obviously then have to clean those trucks, and yeah, before they leave the site. Mel and Steve just ended their stream, so they'll probably be back here in a minute then. Yeah, Jasmine, it's a very good point. Yeah, very good point you've made. And that's the thing, like we're intelligent, we have these choices to make compassionate choices, kind choices. We have solutions in front of us, but a lot of people don't have that compassion. You know, people mainly, you know, this morning, most people are absolutely fine with the fact that even dogs would be taken into a place like this and shot in the head. Most people that, you know, have commented earlier were absolutely fine with that. And it's just baffling that people just don't have that compassion when we have other choices. You know, the idea that most people are dog lovers and are against the, mentioned earlier about Yulin Meat Festival in China. So what's stopping you from being vegan? What's stopping you from exploiting animals? The food we eat, the clothes we wear, the things we do, the industries we support. It's all funded by us as humans. Humans have enslaved them. Humans pay for exploitation, which means we can also stop it. We have the power to stop it. The question is are people going to change? And if they're not, why are they not? Apex species, we eat what we want. Well, exactly, you eat what you want. You can either choose to eat an animal that has been shot in the head and sliced their throats opened or put into gas chambers, or you can just eat some plants instead. You have that choice to be kind. Why would you not choose that option? Cheers for the support, Matthew. Sorry, I'm just trying to read your comment. There's quite a few chats coming through. Yeah, I mean, if a vet is eating animals, I mean, they're a hypocrite, aren't they? Do they love animals? Are they trying to save them, or are they killing them and eating them? Should have been there earlier, Matthew, about the animal holocaust. God, that kicked off. A lot of people did not like, making that comparison. Made the comparison to the Holocaust, to slavery, women's rights. Yeah, that really got some backs up. What's stopping you from interfering with the lives of meat eater? Kindness is a fallacy. Yeah, there's a couple of comments how easy it is to be vegan. It is so easy in the society we live in. In the supermarket, you just go to a different aisle. In a restaurant, you pick something different off a menu. In a shop, you pick up something that has cruelty-free on it, if it's cosmetics, or it's something that's not leather. And just don't go to, you don't need to support industries that cause harm to animals in things like horse racing, greyhound racing, zoos and aquariums. Instead of paying your money for animals to be enslaved in tanks and behind bars, why can't you just leave animals alone? Be kind to animals. We're all on this planet together. We're all animals. Why would we breed and enslave them and kill them when we don't have to? I have a cousin who's a veterinary nurse who goes out on weekends and shoots pigeons. Wow, yeah. I wouldn't want to take an animal to that vet, if I'm honest. What challenges do you see? What are the challenges of adopting a vegan diet? And what challenges can't be solved by a quick Google search or Challenge 22, for example, as free support and mentorship. And it's not about some people finding it maybe more difficult than others in the areas of the world. It's about you, yourself, what choices you make. Culture, availability, knowledge, they can be solved at an individual level, but systemic change isn't easy. Yeah, I mean, agree, everything, if you can solve it at individual level, that's when you see the change happen. As I mentioned earlier, you don't need the whole world to suddenly adopt something for something to change. If you look at other injustices, if you mobilize just 3.5% of a population to speak up and have passion for those injustices, society can change. But even so, you at an individual level, you have the accountability. If you're wanting to be vegan or not vegan, that's the difference of you paying for 200-300 animals to be killed or saving 200 to 300 animals every year. And don't underestimate the power of an individual. If every individual said the same thing and made a change, how much difference would that make? Yeah, exactly. It's all about, firstly, exposure and awareness. So watching something like Dominion, Earthlings, Land of Hope and Glory, it's the reason why. Why might you want to make a change? Why should, you sort of uncover why and what happens to animals, but then it's what do you do about that? And that's where something like Google, ChatGPT, Challenge 22 shows you the how to make a change. So yeah, please do watch the 3 minutes, 3minutes.wtf. It's in the description of this video, and you can see exactly in just 3 minutes what happens to these animals. Yeah, get them at plant. Yeah, if you're an animal lover and you pay for animals to be killed, is the delivery guy going to talk to me? He wanted to. At the end of the day, this is basically raising awareness and seeing, do you want to live with hypocrisy after this? If you don't like the idea of cows going into a slaughterhouse to be shot in the head and sliced to their throats, or pay for sheep to be killed at 6 months old, or pay for chickens to be lowered into gas chambers to burn from the insides, burn their lungs, burn their eyes, if you don't agree with that, then you as individuals should make a change. So we've got Mel and Steve here, who've obviously just finished their live stream. They've been round the side. I don't know if you want to say anything about what you saw.
Yeah, it's been really hard. Like, it's been really hard. Any time going to a slaughterhouse is really hard. But we were stood like right by the kill floor, so you could hear the cows really crying out and screaming. And I've heard there were screeches I've never heard before from cows. Like, you often hear cows bellow, but there was a screechy, like it was like their last time they could get anything out on the kill floor. It's heartbreaking.
It started to become like a distinct pattern between a waft of smell and then a series of bellows and cries. Obviously with their sense of smell, you just get this sense that they know what's going on in there, and there's a system. Someone dies, everyone panics. Someone dies, everyone panics.
That's it.
Exactly how we'd behave in that same scenario.
Yeah.
But the cries for help just sound so harrowing. You know, it's just
Can hear them from here as well.
It's just real harrowing. And they drive down here, and the cows being brought in, drive past the kill floor, past the layerage. You can only imagine what that environment must be like for them. You know, like the panic would set in.
This is why this is so urgent. Like, when we're showing people what's happened to animals, like, we're here at a slaughterhouse not because we want to be, it's because we need to be for them, because good people pay for this. And they don't know. Like, it's not fair that good people are paying for this and the animals are the victims of that. So this is urgent. Veganism is the baseline. It's the moral baseline. It means you don't harm the animals. And then the animals really need you to speak up for them. So be an activist as well. Watch Dominion on YouTube. See for yourself.
Yeah, I know a lot of people tuned into you around the side as well. So
yeah, it was a really clever idea, like you being here.
Awesome.
Managed to capture both elements.
I could show your stream on our stream when you were showing the
Oh,
animals.
nice.
So yeah, because our signal was a bit bad here.
Yeah, we had 3 goes at getting a stream up really today, but
I was hearing the security was stood there and they were playing a video and it sounded like your voices, so they're obviously filming you and then just watching it back over here.
Or they were on a live stream.
Or they're on the live stream, that's a good point. Yeah, there's a lot of cars leaving. I guess they're going on their lunch break at the moment.
Yeah.
One of the security left, I think.
Friday as well, so it could be
they start early.
Yeah.
You've been smashing it. You've just been go.
Yeah, this is great.
Dying for the toilet, but yeah.
102 people in here. Wow. Nice. 102 opportunities to remove yourself from an industry that exploits animals.
So if you're not following already, this is @Mel and Steve. Please do subscribe to their YouTube channel and social medias. They're amazing activists. Go to vigils a lot, speaking to people on the streets. Please, highly recommend their content. So please do check them out.
Thank you. Let's do it for the animals.
Calling it a day. I'm pretty hungry to be fair, and so I think it's a good time to go. So
amazing.
Yeah, I think. Obviously we've been here exposing the sheep and the cows that come in today. If you follow me on Instagram @alex.activism, I'll be putting lots of reels up from all the animals that we've seen come through on the trucks. And you can see more of this content. And in the video description, that'll be live. Please go and watch the 3-minute movie, and please go and watch something like Dominion or watch The Land of Hope and Glory, and educate yourself and make the choices. Use Challenge 22 if you need to. Use Google, use ChatGPT. There's so much out there that you can do to make the change, and you're doing it for the animals. If you just want to be the baseline, like you say, being respectful, if you're an animal lover, you can't continue paying for animals to be taken into places like this to be killed. So please do the moral thing, do the right thing, and see you on the next live stream. Thank you all for joining.